The US stock market has been correcting for the entire week. Interestingly, the indices have been showing mixed dynamics for exactly a month after a long rally. In May, investors were primarily focused on the topic of rising inflation and the potential risks of its further growth. Traders factored in when opening positions in the market. We have analyzed the events of the last week, and we are ready to share with you not only the analysis but also forecasts for the future. The Dow Jones showed mixed performance last week. The volatility of the quote was quite high, from 34,350 to 34,800. Now the Dow is trading in the middle of this range at the level of 34,650. However, the further trajectory of the index is more difficult to predict. Additionally, Fed officials have once again confirmed their commitment to buy bonds at the same pace. Yet, the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury and former Fed Chair Janet Yellen added fuel to the fire, saying that high inflation may last until the end of the year. She also pointed out that higher interest rates would be good for the country. However, there is no panic in the market yet, so the trading range will remain within the current values, especially if inflation does not rise drastically. At the same time, the S&P500 index extended gains after last week's losses. It's still trading at the level of 4,250. Perhaps it may even reach the levels of 4,270, 4,300. It may happen if the inflation rate turns out to be less than expected. However, in case of the negative figure, the index is likely to face a strong selling pressure. During the week, the NASDAQ composite almost remained unchanged. Today, its quote returned to last week's value again. In general, we foresaw this. Currently, there might be a slight increase to 13,870. This rebound is quite expectable, but the upcoming inflation report may scare investors off. Inflation is highly likely not to lower as quickly as the Fed anticipates. For this reason, the index may consolidate at the current level for a while and then gradually decline. This week, experts predict that the NASDAQ index might be trading at 13,800 to 13,600. And now let's have a look at the most interesting events of the US stock market. Perhaps it may help you decide on investment in the shares of certain companies. For example, the Food and Drug Administration approved Biogen's Alzheimer's disease drug. The drug is the first new FDA-approved Alzheimer's treatment since 2003. This has already had a significant impact on the share price of the company. U.S. Concrete shares were also in the spotlight last week. This company has entered into a merger agreement with Vulcan Materials Company. The deal is valued at $1.29 billion and is expected to be complete in the second half of 2021. The transaction has been unanimously approved by the boards of directors of both companies and is expected to close in the second half of 2021. Macquarie Infrastructure Corporation and KKR have signed an agreement for MIC to sell its Atlantic aviation business to KKR for $4.6 billion. The sale of Atlantic Aviation is expected to close in the fourth quarter of 2021. Factor these events in before making new investments. Judging by technical analysis indicators, the stock market is ready for a strong rally, but we need a clear signal from the fresh economic data. The upcoming inflation report will clarify whether the risks of inflation are getting lower or remain high. If inflation continues to increase, there may be a wave of massive sell-off in the stock market. You've watched a weekly financial review with me, Anna Kasatkina. Subscribe to our YouTube channel not to miss other financial news, and we'll see you back soon. Bye.